Okay, so now we're going to start getting ourselves together for the marketing audit. And, this is still a preparation phase. We need to consider, a little bit further the external marketing environment. Okay, so now that we know what we're going to audit, we know what we're going to look at, we've spoken to our client, we've got some agreement. Now we need to start thinking about, well, what's going on out there that can affect us. And as part of the preparation, we must start asking, a few questions about the nature, particularly of the customer. Okay, we need to find out a little bit more about these customers, and we need to know, what are their needs? Okay, so we need to find that out. So, how are we going to find that out? How are we going to find out what the customers want? What's our process going to be, etc. So we need to start thinking through some of that. What information do we have? What's lying around? What is their buying decision process? So once again, why do they buy? When do they buy? How much do they buy? What are the triggers? What are all the things that are going to lead them to getting involved in buying a product or service from us? Okay, so how's that going to trigger on? We need to also think about their perceptions. And what we're talking about there is we need to think about, things like how do they see our brand? What's their loyalty to our brand? Okay, are they really interested in us? Or are we just convenient? Okay, so how much do they, how involved are they really? How do we influence them? What do they care about? We need to think about segmentation. Once again, we're starting to think about, how have we segmented them? How are we targeting these people? And how are we positioned within our market? Okay, and we also need to think about the customers, how they see value. Okay, how do the customers see value? What is it that they're looking for here? And also, how are we providing that value? Okay, so why us? All right, so as I say, a few things here on the customers. What do they need? How do they make the buying decision, and when do they make it, and how much do they buy, and all that sort of gear. Their perception of us, how do they see us? What's their loyalty, perception of our brand? Are we just cheap and cheerful, or they think of us as a high quality brand, etc.? Thinking about the segmentation that we've done, how are we targeting and positioning ourselves there? And also, what do they see as value? Okay, or what are they interested in? What is it about us they like, and how are we meeting that demand? Okay, because remember, it's not about what we think the value is. It comes down to them. We might think our business is really serious and amazing and all that, and they just like us because we're convenient. Okay, well, there's a bit of a disconnect there, but we need to know that stuff. So we need to know a lot about the customer. All right. So now that we've thought about the customer, obviously the next thing we want to understand is the obvious one, our competition. Okay, we need to now go and get a fairly good idea of who's the competition. We need to know the nature of them. We need to know a little bit more in our target markets that we're going to go out and have a bit of a look at. So we need to know things like, what's their level of profitability? How much money are they actually making out there? Is there a fair bit of profit in that market? Or actually, we're all not making much money, So what's going on as far as the, yes, we can all carry out the business, but are we actually making anything of it to make it worthwhile? We need to know the number of them and the concentration. In other words, how many of these people are there out there that we're competing against, and where are they located and how many numbers? Are they all in one particular area, or are they spread out? Okay, so I know that, in one of the last businesses I worked for, we had 11 direct competitors within 500 meters of us. So a customer coming down our street obviously has a massive amount of choice, and that's a bit of a concern to us. So if we know how many competitors and where they all are and exactly where they all are, that gives us some cause for thinking about, how we're going to deal with that. Okay, we need to start thinking about I've got ahead of myself, their strengths and weaknesses. Okay, so what are they good at? Okay, so what are they good at? What are they doing well? Sorry, double S. My OCD kicks in. Okay, so what are they good at? What are they bad at? How are we going to track that? That information. So, obviously we're starting to get into a bit of a SWOT chart that we're going to have to look at at some point. And what we need to know is also their marketing plans. their plans and activities. Okay, now obviously they're not going to just go down and hand you their plans, their strategies, their activities, that sort of gear. However, we can observe that. Okay, they're putting out brochures, they're putting out advertisements, they've got people, they've got all those things they're doing leaves a lot of evidence for us to start to collect up and find out who and what these people are doing. Okay, so from the competition, once again, how much money is being made out there? How big is the size of the industry or slice of pie in that area? How many competitors do we have? Where are they? And what are they good at? What are they bad at? And what are they currently doing? So what are their plans, their activities and strategies they've got in place at the moment? All right, now once again, we might do this up as a bit of a spreadsheet type deal where we've got competitor 1, competitor 2, competitor 3, location, size, we can do that any way you want. Have a think about how you want to, collect that data, and then start to think about how you want to present that data. How you're going to be able to work with it becomes a question there. But once again, you want to be able to compare the business you're working with against the businesses they're working against. So having really clear spreadsheets and all that just makes life a lot easier. Think about the way you're going to categorize that information and go from there. All right, so that's the understanding the competitor. Cool. Okay, so now that we've had a look at the business, we've had a look at the customer, the customers that business deals with, and we've thought about the competitors. Now what we need to do, and a little bit of the SWOT in the competitors, how good is that? SWOT, it came up again. Now we're just going to do a very quick STEEP analysis again, okay? We're coming back to STEEP. So what we want to analyze now is what social or cultural factors. Okay, so what's happening in the social or cultural space for that organization. Once again, if we know it's a particular area, we don't have to look at the social and cultural across the whole country necessarily. It might just be the bit that's relevant to them. I know that in my neighborhood, we like to have, particularly in spring, heaps of functions, fairs, parades, street stuff, all that sort of gear. In winter, it's pretty dead. So we know that in summer and spring, they all come out, everyone comes out of their houses. In winter, everyone goes home and doesn't talk to anybody. So understanding in my local neighborhood that that's a thing would be important for a local business. If your business is national in scale, then yeah, sure, national stuff is a big issue. But the problem for a lot of these things is people aim way too high for the business and they can't draw down the relevance to them. Something big picture's going on, that's awesome, but how do you drill down to make it worthwhile to you? The next thing we need to think about is the tech. And what we're looking at specifically there is thinking about, technological uses within the marketing process. Once again, it relates to us, not across the whole country. What are we using? What are our competitors using? Is everyone on, do we have our own app? Do these competitors have an app? Okay, that sort of stuff. Do we have a website? Do they have a website? How are they using social media? How are we using social media? Do I have a LinkedIn profile? Do they have a LinkedIn profile? Okay, so down to that sort of level, try and keep it where it's directly applicable. Grand changes and all that in technology is awesome if you can, once again, harness that and take advantage of it. But on a basic level, you've got to think about, well, where's it going to be relevant to us and how am I going to draw something out of that? Okay, then you've also got the ecological. Okay, once again, we're starting to think about, what are the ecological considerations or what's going on around us with regard to our marketing activities there. We need to think about what the economic situation is. Okay, but once again, we're looking at the spending habits of our particular customers. So if we're in a local area, we're looking at what are the economical factors in the local area. The international rate might be this, or the exchange rate might be that, or this is where the interest rates are, which is great, and we need to know that. But once again, the country's economy could be doing really well, but in that neighborhood might not be doing so well. So we need to also just remember what's going to be relevant to us and then aim at the appropriate level. Okay, and then lastly, we need to think about the political and legal. Okay, and once again, not going too much overboard. If I'm a local business, I need to understand what the local government's doing. So what is the local plans, that sort of stuff there. So if I'm dealing with a local council as opposed to the government, I know what the government of Australia is trying to do and where the bigger picture political processes are there. But what I want to get down to is if I'm a local business or operating a small to medium enterprise, I need to know what's happening in my community. And I need to be able to dig through maybe even a local government plan. So what are their development plans? What's their sustainability or environment action plan over the next 5 to 10 years? So what might be changing on that local level that could affect my business right here, right now, or things that I can take advantage of that are either going to be, meaningful to myself, to my customers, or my competitors. All right, so I need to start thinking about that. I need to think about what's the political stability of the government and the law, what's taking place, what's changing, are they going to change the environment, are we an industrial zone or are we being rezoned to residential, or what is going on there? So all these things are stuff that we need to look at and make sure that it's appropriate to our business and the marketing environment we're going into. Okay, so, a lot of people, once again, they lose resolution about should I be aiming up here or down here? Look, you do need to go through the whole spectrum, but you're drawing away the things that are appropriate or relevant or will affect that business. Okay, so try and keep it relevant, try and keep it on track, and that's your STEEP analysis. So just to recap how this all worked, you understood the company, you understood then the customers, you had a look at the competitors, you've looked at the strengths and weaknesses of those competitors. From that, obviously, you're going to be able to draw out opportunities and threats. So that's your SWOT process. And now you've undertaken a STEEP process into that marketing environment, very specifically into that marketing environment, looking at those different factors. And that should give you the external environment in a bit of a nutshell. Okay, so detail all that down. That'll let you know what's going on so that you can then move on to the next stage. All right, great.